Time South African Rally champion. Why? Well, he found himself out of the Super Series at Tarleton International Raceway.
Super Series Stadium off-road racing, round 2 at Tarleton International Raceway outside Krugersdorp in Gauteng. And some of the roughest and meanest looking off-road vehicles in the country gathered to do battle in this short course series. In the Super Quad category, Evan Hutchinson was leading after the first round with a 4-point gap over Graham Love, who had Clayton Du Plessis breathing down his neck.
We're running a new track today. We have shortened the track. It's only 800 meters long. It's not as technical as it has been in the past. It is faster, so it's going to be more difficult to get the lead as anyone could beat. You don't have to be as good as a rider. You just need more speed.
The start would be crucial, and it was Clayton Du Plessis who blasted away the quickest as the gates dropped. He's on number 59, but Evan Hutchinson on number 80 and Graham Love on 72 were determined not to let him get away. Glenn Julian on number 63 slotted into 4th position. The track was very slippery after being watered just before the start of the race, and precision riding was going to make the difference at the end. A nice battle for 4th position was developing between Glenn Julian and reigning champion Ricky Giannocaro. All the riders in this category are on 200cc Yamaha blasters, with very few, if any, modifications allowed. At the front of the field, Du Plessis and Hutchinson on the Line-X Royal Purple racing Yamahas and Graham Love were pulling away. Hutchinson dominated this category last year and wasn't used to playing second fiddle and was trying hard to stay in contact with the leader. Behind them, Glenn Julian, also on a Line-X Royal Purple racing machine, had his hands full with Giannocaro. There really wasn't much between the first 5 riders, and with this form of racing requiring extreme fitness, it would be the fittest and most consistent rider who would triumph. The battle for 4th between Julian and Giannocaro had the crowd enthralled. The pressure on Julian not to make any mistake was intense, but it was Giannocaro who lost time when he went into the last corner a little bit too fast. Still, the battle for the lead was between Clayton Du Plessis, Evan Hutchinson and Graham Love, with each of the trio seemingly content to wait for the other to make a mistake. The battle up front was highly tactical at this point, with Du Plessis setting a stiff pace. He needed to stay where he was in order to score maximum points. But behind them, the battle for 4th position between Julian and Giannocaro was as hot as it gets. The two were going at it hammer and tongs, with Julian having to pull out all the stops to try and prevent Giannocaro from passing. Giannocaro tried a different line through the fast right-hander at the end of the main straight, and it obviously worked for him, as he came out faster to take 4th from Julian. At the front of the field, Clayton Du Plessis was still leading from an increasingly frustrated Evan Hutchinson, with Graham Love holding station in 3rd, seemingly unable to challenge for 2nd position. That was the finishing order at the end. Du Plessis holding off Hutchinson, who had no trouble staying ahead of Love. Giannocaro held on to 4th ahead of Julian, with Gianni Giannocaro in a lonely 6th.
Really enjoyed the race. It was great, and really enjoyed it. It was a fun race, and I had it from start to the finish, which I really rode well.
On to the two-wheelers now, and in the 200cc motorcycle category, 3 riders shared the top spot after round 1. Defending champion Freddie Fourie had the new track and race tactics all worked out.
The track's changed, it's more technical, it's not as fast. So, it's going to be tight, it's going to be long, you have to sweep into the corners, get your lines right, and just be fast through the corners. That's going to be the main thing.
23 riders stormed out of their starting blocks at the start of the 200 race, and it was multiple motocross champion Ryan Hunt on his Fuchs Silkeline KTM who got the whole shot. Piet Pina on his Honda and Freddie Fourie on his Elna Fox Kawasaki slotted into 2nd and 3rd. Hunt didn't take Super Series too seriously last year, competing in only a few events, but this year he wants to make a serious onslaught on the title. He won all 3 races in the Open category at a previous meeting, and at Tarleton he entered in both the Open and the 200 categories. With Hunt pulling a gap, a battle for second was developing between Piet Pienaar and Freddie Fourie. Behind them came Neville Bradshaw, Leonard Peterson and Alan Julian. Hunt was putting up a great show, demonstrating exactly what the new 125 Fuchs Sulcaline AGA Panasonic KTM was capable of. Behind him, Fourie had succeeded in getting his Elna Fox Kawasaki ahead of Piet Pienaar's Honda. Neville Bradshaw of Team Elf Suzuki was also still in the picture. Fourie now had his sights firmly set on the leader, opening a gap between himself and Pienaar. Further back in the field, many riders were involved in their own private battles. Alan Julian on his Honda got a good slingshot out of the right-hander and was making up lost time after a fall. He was challenging Neville Bradshaw on the Team Elf Suzuki for fourth. Ahead of them, Freddie Fourie was slowly but surely catching Ryan Hunt, using every part of the track at his disposal to gain an advantage. Hunt was still comfortably in the lead, but Fourie was closing rapidly, with Pienaar still hanging on, trying not to lose contact. Alan Julian had passed Neville Bradshaw for fourth, while Leonard Peterson on his Elna Fox Kawasaki was challenging for fifth. The battle for the minor placings was hotting up. Julian in fourth was pulling away, but three riders were contesting fifth position. Peterson was fighting like a tiger to keep Bradshaw and Gavin Cowley away. Cowley almost lost it on his Protocom O'Neill Honda, which allowed Rian Finicak on his AGA Panasonic Honda to close right up. Like a pack of hungry wild dogs, they stormed down the main straight, choosing different lines through the sweep. Len du Toit lost his KTM, while the battle up front continued. On lap 5, the backmarkers started to come into play, which could put a whole new complexion on the race. Rian Finicak had to find a way past Brad Burden, who was chasing Leonard Peterson for 7th. The track was becoming extremely dusty as the surface was churned up by the spinning knobbly tyres. This was the battle for third. Piet Pienaar on his Honda with Alan Julian on another Honda trying to close the gap. With so much going on throughout the field, it was almost possible to forget that the front runners were still there. And still, it was Ryan Hunt on the Fuchs Sulcaline AGA Panasonic KTM leading the way. He had no trouble getting past the backmarkers, and it seemed as if Freddie Fourie's challenge on the Elna Fox Kawasaki was fading. Hunt was carrying on where he left off at AA Kyalami in February. The hugely experienced and super fit rider showing the opposition that they'd have to find something special to beat him this year. With the other three in the top four holding station, former junior champion Jared De Jager did well to finish fifth ahead of Cowley, Peterson and Burden.
It's the first time I've ridden 125 in the Super Series, and I got the whole shot and led from start to finish. Didn't see anybody else on the track apart from the guys that had come off and were lagging behind a bit, and so they're going to water the track now and hopefully get some of the dust down.
After round one, Henry Kirstein in his Chenoweth was leading the points table in the Super Specials category, while Frank de Greef held the upper hand in the production vehicle category in his Beetle. There was a strong battle between the Piazza Musso brothers in the Super Truck category, but an interesting feature of the race would be the participation of Sarel van der Merwe.
Unlike anything I've done before, yes. I've only had a few laps in the vehicle, and like I said, it's so different to anything else I've done. Looking forward to it.
Multiple South African rally and saloon car champion and Daytona 24-hour winner Sarel van der Merwe had a great start from third on the grid to move into second behind Claudio Piazza Musso. The other Piazza Musso brother, Paolo, slotted into third. This promised to be a race with spectacular action. Claudio Piazza Musso in the Sobe Ford Courier led the way, with Van der Merwe in the light Ford Courier trying to gain an advantage as early as possible. Paolo Piazza Musso in the Sobe Ford 150 4x4 stayed in contact, while behind him Jackie Joubert in the Jojo Tanks VW 4x4 was leading the Super Special class. Van der Merwe, arguably the most naturally talented driver ever produced in South Africa, was obviously finding this a different experience, and no doubt was enjoying himself immensely. Despite his lack of experience in this form of racing, Van der Merwe was pushing hard, but Paolo Piazza Musso was exerting maximum pressure in third position. Behind them, Jackie Joubert was very much in the picture. Claudio Piazza Piazzamuso was determined not to be intimidated by Funabava's presence, and it seemed that the two of them were pulling a slight gap. Among the super specials, Jackie Joubert was being hounded by Max Moore in his industrial hardware WPP Wingfoot. Into the left-hander, and Claudio Piazzamuso went very wide, leaving the door wide open to Saulo Funabava, who didn't need another invitation. Under braking for the next right-hander, Funabava stayed on the outside and took the lead in front of the main grandstand, with the two Piazzamuso brothers almost getting entangled with each other. This is exactly what the crowd had come to see, and Funabava didn't disappoint them. Claudio Piazzamuso, meanwhile, had to keep his brother at bay in order to gain on him in the championship. In the super special class, Henry Kirstein in the Rockbit Chenoweth was trying a little bit too hard to get past Max Moore and paid the penalty. Fortunately, the only damage was to his pride. 6 laps into the race, and Paolo Piazzamuso had passed his slowing brother to take second position. Claudio came to a stop right there with mechanical problems, allowing Jackie Joubert to move up to third position overall. Now Paolo Piazzamuso in the Sobe Ford 150 4x4 Super Truck was determined to close the gap on Saulo Funabava in the light Ford Courier. Funabava took to this form of racing like a duck to water as he demonstrated his legendary driving skills, going around the tight, twisty and jumpy circuits smoothly but very fast. Second place, Paolo Piazzamuso had the advantage of four-wheel drive in the Sobe Ford 150 and was aiming to stay exactly where he was, while the demise of Claudio Piazzamuso allowed Craig Draper in the other light Ford Courier into third in the Super Trucks. Frank de Klerk led the production vehicle category. Nobody was going to beat Saulo Funabava, who took a great debut victory, although things were pretty close towards the end of the race, with Piazzamuso closing rapidly. Jackie Joubert won the Super Special category incredibly after an all-night rally the previous night. De Klerk took the production class, while in the Super Truck category, Funabava beat Piazzamuso and Draper. Claudio Piazzamuso was classified fourth. So, what did Supervan think of his first outing in a Super Truck?
Huge fun, really. So different from anything else. And, I don't think you really care where you're coming, as long as you can be out there. Nice to slide around, jump over things, and whatever else you try and avoid in other forms of motorsport, this is what you use here.